Well, hello, everybody. I know I scheduled this for like 10, so I'm super early, but I can tell I'm going to be asleep. Y'all let me know if my background is too loud. So I'm going to pull up Madalena Kojakari. There aren't any like major updates in the case, but there is something worth looking at. And I had these pulled up earlier, but I don't know where they went. So, hey, Sherry. So this new information with Madalena Kojakari. Authorities, possible family member of Madalena Kojakari spotted in Madison County. Hey, Batissimo, welcome back. I just finally figured out how to get Batissimo working again. So I'm gonna play this video and mute myself out.
But first, we do begin with new developments in that search for this a little 11-year-old girl, Madalena Kojakari. She's been missing for over a month in Mecklenburg County. Now, both of her parents are facing charges in connection to her disappearance, and we've got new information. Thanks for trusting us here at WBTV. I'm Molly Grantham.
And I'm Jamie Boley. It's a puzzling, frustrating case that is tonight pointing in a new direction. The North Carolina mountains north of Asheville. Investigators putting people on alert in Madison County. That's more than 2 hours away from Madalena's home. WBTV's Lowell Rose live there tonight as the search for the little girl continues. Lowell, what did you learn today?
Well, Jamie, Sheriff Buddy Harwood of Madison County is helping investigators try to get information surrounding the disappearance of Madalena Kojakari. I reached out to the sheriff today for a comment and was told he was with the FBI and unavailable. So I turned to the people living and working here in Madison County about the efforts underway here. Attention from law enforcement has shifted to Madison County. Police continue searching for 11-year-old Madalena Kojakari.
It's devastating, really. I hope she's found, and I hope everything works out.
Madison County Sheriff Buddy Harwood posted a Cornelius police poster to his Facebook page asking people to contact the sheriff's office if they had any information surrounding the case. It's believed that Diana Kojakari, the mother of Madalena, was in Madison County after the 11-year-old went missing.
I think it's the duty of all sheriffs, all law enforcement to help each other out whenever possible.
Few people living and working in Madison County knew about the disappearance of Madalena Kojakari prior to the sheriff's social media post.
I hadn't, unfortunately. You know, it's a really small county. I'm kind of surprised I hadn't. But yeah, no, I haven't. I'm glad that I do now. And
law enforcement is more often using social media to get their messages out. And so he may have touched a lot of people. A lot of people may have been alerted to this who don't keep up with the news.
Investigators want to talk to anyone who may have seen Diana Kojakari or this Toyota Prius in Madison County between November 22nd and December 15th, the 3-week period before Madalena was reported missing to police.
I'm glad that Buddy is supporting, and I hope anyone here who's seen her will report it and find this sweet girl.
Now, again, I was not able to get in touch with the sheriff of Madison County because he was reportedly with the FBI today. Now, as police are searching for new details here in Madison County surrounding the parents of Madalena, our WBTV's Nick Ostener was able to get a Mecklenburg County judge to unseal documents relating to the search of this 11-year-old. Reporting live in Madison County, Lowell Rose, WBTV. On your side.
A lot happening with this case today. Hopefully someone with a tip that could break this case open. Lowell, thank you. You can trust WBTV to bring you any and all updates on this story. We've been on your side every step of the way through this investigation.
So I thought that was interesting because Hey, Tim. The mom was quick to tell them about the stepdad taking a trip, but we're just now finding out that she probably took a trip too. I'm not even going to say probably. She took a trip. So now it's just pondering which trip is going to lead to Madeline. Is she somewhere between Cornelius and Michigan, or is she somewhere between Cornelius and wherever mom went? And so I don't know. The more that comes out in this case, the more because I was kind of like leaning away from the mom because of the things that we've heard about her being alienated from her family and not wanting to. It seems like she was hyper vigilant against causing conflicts between her and the stepfather. But now I'm starting to wonder if maybe that isn't just some tales that are being spun um, to garner sympathy for her, and maybe she's a guilty party or the guilty party in this whole thing the whole time. I mean, when you think about the delay in reporting Madalena missing, the circumstances of it happening is almost if the mom's hand was forced and she just really had no other out other than to report her missing. Then this trip that she didn't bother to mention to anybody. Hey, PJ, I don't know. Maybe I need to lean more toward the mom. Right now, it's kind of throw it all on the wall and see what sticks. So, Mr. Kohlberger, found out that audio was fake today. That kind of really blew me out of the water because I listened to it on Crime Stories Obsessed channel over and over and over and over and over. And I was like, this might be legit. So, guess it wasn't. But still, even without any kind of reporting, that dude is nailed to the wall. We don't have to see what sticks. We just got to see what falls off. They got him sewed up. And I don't think there's any other way for him to like come out of this any way other than found guilty at trial. Okay. Last thing I want to do is I want to go over a couple. Yeah, I mean, his defense lawyers are pretty much just going to be there to make sure that the trial is fair, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, Batissimo's back on it, apologizing and all. There you go. All right, the last thing I want to share, I want to do a couple of cases from the Charlie Project. Y'all know I like the Charlie Project because when you get to the Charlie Project, you'll find a lot of cases that you don't really hear about in the news or whatever. And let's start with this week's missing person of the week, which is Bob Perry Austin Jr. from Jefferson, Louisiana, and he's been missing since March the 10th, 1995. He is classified as endangered, missing. He is a black male. He was 19 years old when he went missing. Birth date 8/2/1975. He's 47 now. 5'10", 155 pounds around the time that he went missing. And clothing or jewelry description: green flowered shorts and white socks. Distinguishing characteristic: African American male, black hair, brown eyes. Details of his disappearance is that Austin was last seen on March 10th, 1995 in Jefferson, Louisiana. He was fleeing Ochsner Hospital headed towards the Levee at the time. He has never been heard from again. Few details are available in his case. If you know anything about his case, the investigating agency is Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, and you can reach them at 504-364-5300. That's 504-364-5300. Let me see if we can pull up a little extra about him. Okay, no, that's not the same person. Hey, here's Google trying to keep me from going on different sites. It's not secure. I don't care. I might have just found a new resource for cases. I've never heard of this website. Let me drop this in here. This is identifylouisiana.lsu. Well, not Louisiana, but identify LA, all one word, .lsu.edu. So apparently this is a missing persons repository from LSU. And let's see, we see the same information here, descriptive information, case numbers for various agencies. Not much more information. Hey, BC. So, Bob Perry Austin Jr., he is the Charlie Project's missing person of the week. There is not a whole lot of information out there. The searches that I did come up to everybody but him, but I thought it was worth a try. To see if we could come up with any extra information, any extra history for the story. But I kind of figured there would be, because usually with the Charlie Project, they throw everything that they have in this page that you're looking at. It usually has all the information that they have. So if it's not there, then you probably just don't have it. And we're just going to pick one because every time I try to look through here in a system, it seems like I keep missing something. So I'm going to pick one at random. Evelyn Throsby Scott. Missing, since 1955. 5/16/1955 from Los Angeles, California. Endangered missing white female, born 5/11/1892. She would be 130 years old. This is definitely just going to be getting information on a recovery in this case. PJ, you got a dime. Type exclamation point start. Get yourself some free points. She was 63 years old at the time she went missing. Excuse me. Standing 5'6", 135 pounds. Wearing a tan suit, a small hat, and a gold wedding band. Evelyn suffered from diverticulitis and inflammation of the intestine and takes an anti-inflammatory medication, aureomycin and sulfadiazine, to control her condition. Caucasian female, white hair, blue eyes. Evelyn wears glasses.
Where to show you how many views you got?
Right there.
Oh. Why you can't see on that screen?
Because this is the. What do you mean? Oh, because I'm sharing this screen.
No.
All right. Evelyn wears eyeglasses and a denture plate with 5 false teeth, but had neither with her when she disappeared. She would need the eyeglasses to read. Evelyn's maiden name is Throsby, and her previous married names were Kiernan, Lewis, Petit, and Mumford. Details of the disappearance. Evelyn was last seen. Looks like a lot of detail on this one. Evelyn was last seen on the afternoon of May 16, 1955 in Los Angeles, California. She and her husband, Leonard Ewing Scott, test drove a new car that day. The photograph of Ewing is posted below. this case summary. He told the car salesman that he and Evelyn were thinking of moving out of the country, either to Spain or Portugal. Aside from her husband, the car salesman said the car salesman was the last person to see Evelyn before her disappearance. Evelyn had met with her hairdresser weekly for years. On May 17th, a man called the salon and said he was canceling all her future appointments. He hung up without giving his name or an explanation. Hey, Bushes. Ewing was Evelyn's fifth husband. Her first two marriages ended in divorce, and her third and fourth husbands predeceased her, leaving her with a sizable fortune, which she invested skillfully with the assistance of a financial management firm. She was worth nearly $1 million by the time of her marriage to Ewing. I wonder if that's $1 million in today's money or $1 million in that money. If it was $1 million back then, she was like uber rich today. Her assets included a share in the Milwaukee apartment house, which provided an income of $1,400 to $1,500 a month, more than $220,000 in stocks that yielded annual dividends of about $8,000, and $200,000 in her bank account. Yeah, she was set. Her passion was traveling, and she had been all over the world. Whenever she went on a trip, she left her itinerary and with her attorney in case he needed to reach her. Evelyn met Ewing in the early summer of 1949 and married him in September. Following their marriage, Ewing gradually assumed control of Evelyn's finances, telling her he could manage her money better than her investment counselors. Well, sounds like we know where this story is going. He identified himself as an investment broker and land developer, but he had no source of income. Ewing urged his wife to convert her assets to cash. Evelyn cashed out $223,000 worth of securities and drew $180,000. What in the world is that? Weird notification on my computer. And withdrew $180,000 in income from her estate during her marriage and left behind a substantial amount of money in the bank accounts and safe deposit boxes. Many of the couple's acquaintances reported seeing bruises on Evelyn, and Ewing told the family's live-in maid that he had hit his wife. He also confided that he didn't love Evelyn and had married her only for her money. Okay. He asked the maid to eavesdrop on Evelyn's telephone conversations and monitor her mail. The maid refused and was subsequently fired. Yep. This story has one ending. I know this is like super old, and since she would likely be 130 years old today, then I think this case is pretty much closed. But this is an interesting missing person case. Like, it's like what you might read in a book, all kinds of twists and turns. And I feel bad because I pretty much feel like I know what happened to her. That greedy husband that didn't love her. Evelyn also dismissed her longtime secretary and friend at Ewing's urging. He told her he would be taking over her bills, banking, and correspondence, so she no longer needed a secretary. Evelyn's brother openly loathed Ewing, I bet he did, and became estranged from his sister for a time as a result. Many of her friends also disliked him. Ewing told several of Evelyn's friends that her physical and mental health was deteriorating, but none of her friends saw any evidence of this. After Evelyn went missing, Ewing refused to file a missing person report because he knew exactly where she is. And when people asked about her, he said she had vanished while he was out buying tooth powder. He said she had left him without warning before and variously stated she was a lesbian, was an alcoholic, was mentally ill, and or had cancer. Really, dude? He suggested she may have gone to a sanitarium, possibly on the East Coast, for treatment of her medical conditions. At times, he stated he knew which sanitarium she was in. At other times, he said he had no idea where she was. Evelyn's friends contradicted Ewing's description of her. They stated Evelyn didn't have emotional problems, wasn't a lesbian, and rarely drank alcohol. And when she did, it was never to excess. She received psychiatric treatment for anxiety for several months in the late 1940s, but had been in good mental health for years prior to her disappearance. Evelyn did have some small growths removed from her face years before her disappearance, and afterward she was checked for cancer twice a year. She did not have cancer at the time of her disappearance. Her only medical problem was diverticulitis. Evelyn's friends and brother were puzzled and alarmed by her uncharacteristic absence and their inability to get in touch with her. Several times they asked Ewing for contact information for her, but he never provided any and gave evasive and contradictory answers to their questions as to what had happened to her. Yeah, I mean, what's he going to tell you? Write to her and mail it to the third giant oak tree in the woods where I buried her? This case should have happened nowadays. In late July 1955, 2.5 months after her disappearance, Evelyn's friends asked the district attorney's office to begin a quiet investigation into her disappearance. She wasn't officially reported missing at the time, however. The district attorney's investigators discovered Ewing had been forging his wife's signatures on checks and financial documents and spending her money on himself. He was also seeing other women and gave them several of Evelyn's things, including clothing and jewelry, as gifts. Dude, he is such a POS. He even proposed marriage to one of his girlfriends, although he was still legally married to Evelyn. One of Evelyn's friends checked with every sanitarium and mental hospital on the eastern seaboard. That's a friend. And discovered Evelyn wasn't a patient at any of them. The friend also offered awards for information on her in newspapers all over the country with no results. She has some dedicated friends. Evelyn's brother made her disappearance public in March 1956 when he filed for guardianship of her estate. He reported her missing on March 7th. When police searched the Scott property, they found 2 pairs of eyeglasses, an upper front denture plate, some of Evelyn's diverticulitis medicine, and some women's toiletries lying around on the ground in the next door neighbor's yard. Just over the wall that divided the 2 properties. Oh, not only is he a POS, he is a lazy POS. Just toss it across the wall. Nobody will ever find it there. It appeared as if the items had been there for a long time. Evelyn's dentist identified the denture plate as hers, and her optometrist identified the eyeglasses. Authorities could not find the dental retainer Evelyn wore when she was asleep, however. There was no indication that Evelyn's body had been burned in the backyard incinerator, but some charred remains of women's undergarments were found in the incinerator. Ewing stated he had burned the underwear because it was soiled and had a foul smell. Police became convinced that Ewing had killed his wife and wanted to indict him for murder, but he was charged with 13 counts of grand theft and forgery instead in April 1956. He fled the area for several days later rather than face the charges and traveled to Canada. 5 months after Ewing became a fugitive, he was indicted for the murder of his wife. He was arrested in April 1957. After nearly a year on the run, he crossed back into the United States to buy a car. Like, they don't sell cars in Canada. And was apprehended when he tried to return to Canada. He was extradited to California to stand trial. At Ewing's murder trial, he maintained his innocence and said Evelyn had left of her own accord and probably wasn't even dead. Prosecutors theorized he murdered his wife to gain control of her estate. Hey, Princess, welcome. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. He initially refused parole, saying accepting it would be tantamount to admitting guilt. He was unconditionally released from prison without parole in 1978. Journalist Diane Wagner wrote a book about the Scott case titled Corpus Delicti in the 1980s. She interviewed, that sounds so familiar, like I read that book. She interviewed Ewing extensively and claims he confessed the murder to her during their last interview in 1984. Ewing allegedly told her he killed Evelyn by hitting her on the head with a rubber mallet, then buried her body. God, a rubber mallet? How much anger do you have to kill somebody with a rubber mallet? Then buried her body in the desert 6 miles east of Las Vegas, Nevada. The story has never been confirmed. Ewing died in 1987. Evelyn's body has never been located. Foul play is suspected in her case due to the circumstances involved. Well, that case is fully closed, I guess. But yeah, that was an interesting read. Can you imagine if something happened today and like all these weirdisms and all these, hey, Marshmallow, and all these like crazy things were coming forward, like in a case today, he would have been gone. But unfortunately, this happened way back then. It was definitely an interesting missing persons case to read about. Well, I'm gonna bounce out of here. Lighting sent you. Thank you, PJ. Marshmallow, make sure you check out the missing anniversaries playlist. It's a collection of short, like 30-second videos that showcase children who went missing today, last year. They're just quick little watches, but it helps to bring awareness to those missing persons, missing child cases. And please, everybody, make sure you share that playlist. I'm really trying to get some views and some likes and watching on that. And I'm out of here. I'll see y'all tomorrow.